Imagine this. Your friend casually asks,
How are you?
you smile and say, I'm fine, even though you're overwhelmed with deadlines, chugging coffee just to keep up, and battling a sense of existential dread. Why do we do this? Because emotions can feel confusing, even illogical. But here's the surprising twist. Science actually says that ignoring your feelings is the irrational move. In fact, studies reveal that 90% of people lie about their emotions every day. The result? It backfires, leading to more stress and frustration. Emotions aren't something to brush off. They're essential clues about what's really going on inside. Many people believe that emotions cloud judgment and hinder logical thinking. But the truth is, emotions evolve to actually help us survive. For example, fear keeps us alert and safe by triggering the fight or flight response when danger approaches. Neuroscience shows that the prefrontal cortex, which handles logic, and the amygdala, which processes emotions, aren't enemies. They're teammates. They work together to help us make better decisions, balancing reason with the valuable insights emotions provide. So rather than being obstacles, emotions play a crucial role in keeping us alive and guiding our choices. There's often a fear of being seen as weak or irrational when we show vulnerability, thanks to how society conditions us to hide our emotions. We're taught to keep a stiff upper lip and avoid revealing our true feelings. But as Brené Brown famously said,
Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation.
in reality, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable opens the door to growth and creativity. On the flip side, many of us fall into the "I'll deal with it later" trap, pushing emotions aside instead of addressing them. Suppressing feelings is like ignoring a check engine light. It might seem easier at first, but eventually it will lead to an emotional explosion when we least expect it. Suppressing emotions comes with serious cost, starting with the physical toll. Chronic stress, which results from bottling up feelings, leads to inflammation and a weakened immune system. High cortisol levels can even increase the risk of heart disease by 30%, according to studies. Mentally, emotional suppression drains our cognitive resources, causing decision fatigue. When we ignore emotions, we struggle to think clearly or make good choices. In fact, research shows that being aware of our emotions can boost creativity and problem solving. On a relational level, shutting down emotions can lead to stonewalling, a behavior that destroys trust in relationships. Dr. John Gottman, a leading relationship expert, identifies this as one of the 4 horsemen that predict relationship breakdowns. Suppressing emotions might seem harmless at first, but the long-term effects are damaging across every area of life. Embracing your feelings doesn't mean giving up your logical mindset. It's about finding a balance. One way to do this is by conducting an emotional autopsy after a meltdown. Take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, what was I really feeling? What triggered it? This is all about gathering data, not judging yourself. Next, instead of saying vague things like, I'm stressed, label your emotions more precisely, such as, I feel overwhelmed because of my workload. This technique, called affect labeling, reduces emotional intensity and makes it easier to manage. Another tip is the 60-second vent rule. Allow yourself to rant for a full 60 seconds, but then quickly pivot to finding solutions. This method balances emotional validation with action. Lastly, use logic to hack your emotions by asking, is this feeling useful? What's it trying to tell me? Remember, emotions aren't directives. They're data that can guide us if we learn to read them effectively. Real-world examples show how embracing emotions can lead to positive results. Take the case of a data analyst who used emotional autopsies to identify the root cause of his frustration at work. By recognizing his feelings, he was able to negotiate a project shift, which ultimately boosted his productivity and job satisfaction. On a more everyday level, a gym enthusiast learned to reframe his anger during intense workouts. Instead of viewing the burn as a negative feeling, he started seeing it as a sign of growth. This simple shift in perspective helped him reduce post-workout irritability and made his workouts more enjoyable. These examples show that understanding and working with emotions can lead to improved outcomes in both professional and personal life. For skeptics, understanding what emotions are trying to tell you can make them easier to handle. If you're feeling anger, it's a sign that your boundaries are being crossed. Pay attention to what's causing that frustration and consider asserting yourself. Anxiety, on the other hand, is usually a signal that you need preparation or reassurance. It's not about avoiding the feeling, but addressing the underlying need. Lastly, sadness often points to something that requires release or reflection. Whether it's processing a loss or letting go of unspoken emotions, sadness can be an opportunity to heal and grow. Recognizing these emotional cues can help you understand their purpose, making them less overwhelming. In closing, remember you don't need to go overboard with emotional practices. No need to hug trees or journal in cursive. Instead, treat your feelings like a skeptical scientist. Observe, analyze, and adapt. By taking this approach, you can stay grounded in logic while still understanding and managing your emotions. For this week, try one of the feels hacks we discussed and track the results like an experiment. See how it shifts your experience.